everybody. How's the family?
Oh man, we had a rough night last night. We were ER late night.
And you're still looking like that. So there's a
We got home, I don't know when it was. It was like 11:30 and she had a seizure yesterday. It was just one of the I don't know. We attribute it probably to a cold that we didn't see that she had the cold, but until like today. But it
right.
was probably usually like the breakthrough seizure happens before the symptoms show. And so she
Okay.
probably had that cold and that probably contributed to it a little bit. And then also her ketones were high, whatever. She's fine, but it was like it was a pretty ugly seizure because there was like three like sporadically. It was like one ended in 4 minutes, potentially another one or activity in the ER or in the ambulance. And then on when we got to the hospital, there was another one that was like 10 minutes. So, but we're here, we're kicking it.
Yeah, that can't be a good feeling
Nah,
all the
it's
way
never fun
around.
seeing your daughter with a thing over her face to
Yeah,
make sure she can breathe all right.
poor thing. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad
Well,
she's okay.
yeah, no, she's good. She's good. She's a tough one. She's gonna be tougher than me, I can tell you that.
She's a girl, so that usually happens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, thanks for coming on here. One thing I want to do and kind of get the kind of the timeline of your experience within the academy so far. I know we're still working and we're still it's lifetime, and I gave you the extra access, but what let's start from the beginning. Where you were at before academy, and then where you're at now post graduation.
So we have had, like everybody, um, a lot of roller coasters with the moving
Hold
and
on.
losing.
Do you like my mic?
Yeah, for sure. It's
Do I
like
sound
totally
better?
official. Listen, it's a lot better than a headpiece thing. That's nerdy,
I had
but
to
this is
interrupt you.
cool.
You go back on.
No, you're good. Um, so we were literally struggling, and I'm still going through a little bit of guilt. So my grandmother just passed away maybe like 3 weeks ago, and she left me her house. So her house was split up. She had two efficiencies in the back that are rented.
Hmm.
And then her where she was living is essentially a two-bedroom, two-bath.
Hmm.
And I sound it sounds really bad. Like, and this is
Yeah.
where I'm working through the guilt where
No, I'm
like,
sorry to hear that.
yeah, thank you. But it's like the timing of that income couldn't have been better.
Yep.
Um, because it's literally like saved us because of the fact that we've had like this whole transition and whatnot. So I'm working at redoing our spreadsheets and whatnot because so with the two back ones, they're basically bringing in 2,100, and I'm gonna try to rent hers for like 2,500.
Oh, wow. So three of them, 21, 21, 25.
No, the two back bring in 2,100 together.
Okay, gotcha. So
So
still
they're
4,600.
yeah,
Are they paid off?
yes, the house is paid off.
Wow. So you have $4,600 in extra income per month right now.
Pretty much. Well, the one on the front part, which is hers, I haven't rented out yet. I'm still trying to like do a couple like fixes and replace a couple appliances and whatever, just get it ready.
Sure.
But that's the ideal within the next month or so that'll be rented out.
Wow,
So it'll
that's
be,
incredible. I mean, in a
yeah,
weird way again, like I get the guilt
right.
side of
So
things.
yeah.
Um,
So you
so
see where the
okay,
guilt comes from.
so obviously the move across the country was probably scary, right?
Very scary. It wasn't scary in the fact of relocating. It was scary in the fact of losing essentially her whole, her career and trying to
Right.
adjust to that. Because we were really happy over there. The
Hmm.
problem was, and like everything happens for a reason, right? So if we wouldn't have been where we are now, we wouldn't have been able to go to Miami in 3.5 hours and make it to the hospital and do all this stuff and being close to where we are now. So
Sure.
it's pros and cons. And of course, I'm like, well, if we would have stayed in California, we would have had both incomes now, plus the 4,600 bucks. But you take everything at the grain of salt, and cost of living here is much better.
For sure.
Um, yeah, so we're in the process of buying the house as well. So again, this all is coming in at like great timing.
Yep. What
Um,
about furniture and all the costs we talked about, like worrisome with the move?
we haven't even addressed. the furniture or anything. Like we've literally said, hey, we'll move with what we have for now. We'll do
Yeah.
like the absolute necessities. And then everything else will just kind of come as we can pay for it, because I don't want to like start racking up like 0% here, 0% there and all that stuff. Cause then in 48 months, when everything comes to no 0% anymore and you
Yep.
haven't been keeping up with your schedule, it's going to bite you in the ass.
100%. Yeah. No, I agree. And we got out of that. We don't want to go back to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So pre-academy versus now, what are some of the biggest adjustments that you guys have had?
I think one of the biggest things that we've had is my wife actually getting on board and being a lot more conscious about where the money's going, how it's being spent. So one of the things that we're talking about, so my cousin does a lot of storage.
Oh,
Uh,
storage units.
yes. So he's gotten pretty big in that. He's actually offering a coaching for that now. Because he's like, I've done 5 deals and I've literally used none of my money. He was like, 2 of those deals I've actually put together and resold. One of them, he's like, I made $180,000 of it clean.
Wow.
That's like complete net profit. And I haven't had to use any of my money for it. So he just came out and he's offering a coaching program as well. And I would have loved to have joined it. But it's 30K and I think he's doing 19% of the first deal,
Mm,
which obviously, if you think about it, yeah, it's an investment, but based off of whatever you make, you learn the skill, you learn the trade, and then you go, wash, rinse, and repeat.
yeah.
And then he also has an Ascend Mastermind, which is, I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yep.
And they have 3 meetings a year, and like the biggest part of that is the networking. A lot of what we do in our academy, right?
Yep.
So except they meet 3 times a year in person, and they do, like kind of like weekend retreats and whatnot.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, no, that's a really, really popular model. We should connect with him. See what kind of synergies there are, because like that storage unit business is so I love it. I personally love it. It's
Yeah.
boring business. Are you thinking about doing that right now? Are you waiting? What's the plan?
So I want to finish the house
Yeah.
stuff because I'm literally going through therapy because my head's gonna explode. Um, because we want to try to have the baby as well. So
Yep.
the therapist is like, look, you guys are going through a move. You're trying to buy the house, and you're trying to like, you can't just have a baby. You have to go through the IVF and do all this stuff. And there's
Sure.
there's things like you need to focus on one thing at a time because if not, you're gonna go crazy. So my idea is to close the house and then work on the baby and the money for the coaching for the storage as well, because I think it would be really great. So you're still in real estate,
Yep.
because that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people associate the storage with real estate. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think it has a lot more of a passive income tone to it, than
100%.
dealing with multi-unit buildings and whatnot,
Yeah, no,
where you
I
have
totally agree with
tenants
you.
calling.
So you also mentioned your wife was getting on board with the finances. What triggered that for her, or what like got her to care?
I think it was seeing me stress all the time, um, listening to me say, babe, we can't spend money on that, we can't spend money on this, like, and then just me constantly saying, look, all of these expenses are adding up a lot faster than you realize.
Yep.
And then when she sat down and started doing some of the spreadsheet herself, her mom told me, she was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much stress she's under, because yeah, she makes good money, but there's a lot of money going out,
Yeah, yeah.
which it doesn't feel like it honestly sometimes, but it's like it's a lot of money coming in and out. So, and add to it that we really don't do a whole lot. Like we really don't eat out much. We haven't traveled for the most part because we're trying to be a lot more conscious about, where our spending's going and whatnot. But that's something that we need to change this year, because we're looking at doing the IVF in Spain,
Uh-huh.
because it's actually much cheaper
I've
over there.
heard that's actually cheaper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's much cheaper over there. It's like you can go through a cycle for like 6,000. And
Yep.
over here you're looking at 20 to 30.
I was about to say it's almost like I've heard like 18. My friend just did it 18,000.
Yeah, it all depends on where you are and what they're doing. We had a consult in Costa Rica because we had a connection there as well. And she was like, my part, like my OBGYN part of it will be 2,000 total.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
And then I guess you factor in the trip to get there, which is probably a little bit, but Still way
Yeah, but
cheaper.
yeah, and
Way
you get a trip
cheaper.
out of it.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah, and you get a
Yeah,
trip.
exactly.
So
It's
you
not
think
like just going to the
do you
office.
think the awareness of just like looking at their finances, your guys' finances specifically, was one of the big like ahas, like, oh, now I see the numbers, where they're going, what it looks like, how this kind of distributes up into our wealth or our balance sheet?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a snowball effect. So she started looking at the balance sheets. She started like watching some of the budget dog videos, the academy videos. And then now she's a lot more like, okay, because she was really disconnected.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
single child, immigrated from Cuba when she was 10. Basically, she was surrounded by like just her immediate family. She dropped out from high school, got her GED, went to college, did the law enforcement academy or whatnot, but her exposure has been really limited, especially like in the real estate world. So now she's starting to learn. She's listening to a bunch of podcasts.
I love
She's
that.
listening to a lot of audiobooks.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's trying to like immerse herself so she can learn more. Again, because I've had these properties, so I have some more um exposure to it. And then now we're bumping heads a little because she's like, well, in this audiobook, I heard that you should be doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like,
You created a problem you don't even know.
yeah, I'm like, babe, relax, relax. We'll get there.
That's good.
Um,
That's good to hear though,
yeah,
because like I feel like a lot of times that's the case. Like people don't know what they don't know, and all of a sudden they see it and they're like, "Holy crap!" Like time is important, and they start
right.
to like once they have that aha moment, like, "Oh shoot, I should have started 7, 10, 15, 20 years ago," and there starts that guilt almost. It kind of like kicks them into gear, which is a good thing,
Yeah,
and they see like how important it is. Like I don't know what it is, but like I feel like it happened to me as well. Like I didn't grow up knowing how important it was. So I was just like, oh, just get a job, I'll be good. Like, but
yeah,
you realize what you can do with your finances, the life you can create, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, okay. And now she's listening to audiobooks, which I love. She's in the academy listening to videos. That's so cool to hear.
yeah. It's been a lot, and the resources that are there. And then I'm also like, look, like while I'm at work, get in the academy yourself and start reading like what people are posting and how things are affecting them and different things because everybody has like, yeah, they're different scenarios, but we can all relate in one way or another.
100%.
So
Does she ever get inspired by the wins that we post in there?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, I think so. Her quitting her job has been super scary, but at the same time, it's been a big benefit to us because before it was always like, especially for us, like it's shift work, right? And then you get X amount of hours, and then to get any time approved here, it's like an act of God because you're always short staffed,
Yep.
and we're always like running into that. Whereas now it's like, look, like with my grandma, I had about almost 900 hours of sick leave accrued because I never call in sick.
Yeah.
And thank God I had it because in the last 2 months, I had hysterectomy. My grandma got sick. We went down there. I came back. She ended up passing away 2 days later. So we had to stay down there, had to take care of the house. Got the flu, but it's like I've barely been at work the last 2 months. They literally don't care because everything's justified. But we haven't had to worry about it like on my end and her end.
Yeah.
And I think she's realized as well, like just having that flexibility and that freedom where there are other ways for us to make money and bring in money and whatnot. And I told her, I was like, we have my grandmother's house now, thank God, but I don't want to look at that as a bank.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
it's there to help us out. But she's a lot more like now she's like, well, what about looking at like a PPEC? So like the daycares for the kids that have medical conditions or whatnot, and they need either like feeding tubes or this or that or whatever, because she likes working with kids.
It's funny you
She
say
just,
feeding tube. We're looking into, as of last night, we kind of considered heavily the G tube, which is a
oh
feeding tube.
yeah,
Yeah. I just
and
posted this on Twitter like literally 20 minutes ago. I was like, hey, does anybody
oh
have
sure.
experience with that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, because my brother-in-law actually has one of those PPEC facilities. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, so I'm gonna reach out to him. And it's just something that we're kind of like exploring a bunch of different avenues. And she was like, let's kind of figure out what we want to do and stick to it. So she's trying to learn more about the storage because I told her, I was like, the PPC is great. You just have to be a lot more hands-on. There's a lot more liability.
Yep.
There's a lot more regulation and whatnot, but it is a business that's going to be government funded because it's Medicare, Medicaid.
Sure.
Um, yeah, the storage is going to be an investment, but it's also something that's going to be passive. She was like, but I don't get how it's going to be passive. I'm like, okay. So I started like explaining, people rent these. They keep, my cousin says people keep their contracts on average from, 1 to 2 years or whatnot. They just forget they have their stuff there.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're just a society where we like to accumulate things. So his parents, my aunt and uncle right now are moving in. They themselves have to get a storage facility because they have so much crap that they
Yeah.
can't fit it anywhere. And
I
it's like
know.
a
It's
lot of
crazy.
people are downsizing here, but they don't want to get rid of their stuff. So they
Sure.
rather pay $500 a month to keep it and not doing anything with it and just waste the $500 than to try to sell what they have.
Crazy. Yeah.
Um,
That's why I like the storage unit so much. It's like my,
yeah,
my parents had one growing up a little bit. My Aaron's parents had one growing up. I'm like, America just wants more and more stuff. It's got to go somewhere. It's like
yeah,
such a simple business model.
it really is. So, but yeah, like I think you guys connecting be really great because he has a podcast. I think he's close to like 800 episodes already.
Wow.
Um,
What's his podcast name?
Flip Empire.
Flip Empire. I'm gonna look that up after this.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you and I'll send him your info too.
Yeah. No, that's
Um,
phenomenal. Is it Alex something?
Alex Pardo.
Yeah, I see. I see. Okay, perfect. I got it.
Yeah, so I think he's gonna have an Ascend Masterminds this not this weekend, the following weekend. So he'll be out of comms for a bit, but um he just posted that the opportunity for the coaching because he's never done it before. And he says he got over 200 and some calls, and he was like, I was like overwhelmed because I wasn't expecting that at all. He was
Yeah.
like, I was gonna do 5 to 7 students. He's like, but I think I'm only gonna do 5 because I don't want to overstretch myself and I really want to commit because obviously it's important that everybody gets their deal within the first 6 months.
Yep.
And then if they don't, he's gonna extend the like another 6 months for free. So
If he needs help with no, so if he needs help with like how to like structure a team, I could also help him because like as you know, like we have student success within our academy. We have Heather, we have Angel, we have Tom,
yeah,
and we're probably gonna have to expand that, right? So like if he needs help with like how to build that side of the back end stuff, let him know because I can definitely help him.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll shoot over the information. But yeah, so our goal now is for the 7 figure club. And it's funny because you guys had just posted about the investment opportunity and whatnot. And I think literally the day before you posted on that, we were talking about that possibility. Um, so she's plenty motivated, which helps me. It's just, we gotta nail down our spreadsheets all over again and do all that because I'm like I'm trying to figure out now, like, okay, now that's 3 different units. So do I just do separate spreadsheet for it? What do I do?
I
Because I
would
have
probably
those
do, I would
three.
probably do all, well, it depends how complicated the property is. We can get all in detail offline, but like, I think I would do total revenues on the additional income, like the additional income tab. And then I would do like the expenses under, it's hard to do. It's hard to, I mean, I would put in one line item in the expense on the expense tab. So like, it would be like additional income. I know the rental income is this, and then I have you could even put in one-time expense, but it's really not a one-time expense. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like technically speaking, it's separate. Like I typically say, hey, separate, any property you have has a separate like QuickBooks like account or something like that.
right.
We do all accounting in QuickBooks, and then the net impact of it goes onto the spreadsheet. You could do it that way because it's technically a separate business, and you can put an LLC around it and all these things like that. So depends how you want to structure it, but like we could talk about like details depending on what you guys want to do.
Yeah, because that's what I was looking at too. But they're like, don't do anything before we close the house. Do not do LLCs. Do not do anything. So I'm like, but it's all like playing in the back of my mind. And I'm like, okay, like I need to figure this out and I want to figure it out, but I know I got to finish the house first because I have those 3 with my grandma. And then I have the apartment here in Orlando that my nephew's living in. And I have one in Miami.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and technically I still have the one in Tampa, but I'm trying to sell that one.
Yep.
Um, that I can get those proceeds for the house.
That's good stuff. I'm glad to hear all this kind of come together, especially with the oddly enough the new properties. What about in the beginning? Were you skeptical about coming into the academy?
What was I skeptical
Or
about?
you might have not been. You might have not been. I'm just,
Um,
but this is the honesty session.
yeah, no, I have no issue being completely honest. So obviously at first it's a little weird, right? Because you're investing in someone that you essentially don't really know,
Yeah.
right?
I think we had multiple
Um,
calls, right? You and I?
yeah, we
Yeah.
had a couple calls at the beginning, but you're still like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not? And then you have like that moment where you're like, I have to do something, get my ass in gear.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that I've always felt from the beginning with you, like I've always felt that you're very genuine and you do commit like so much time to the academy. And like even during your medical emergencies, you're still like, hey, sorry, I gotta tap out or whatever. Like it's not, like that you check out and then like leave people hanging or whatnot. Like, right, like this is a business model for you as well. But still, there's that genuine thing where like you want to connect with your students, you want to know what's going on, you want to know where you can help. Um, so that's made a lot of difference for me. The skepticism for me, I think, was also like I've always been bad at numbers.
Sure.
Can I actually get this? Will I be able to nail it down? Like, is this going to work for me? Are we going to be able to keep up with it?
Yeah.
So I think that was a lot of it. And being able to like just basically follow up and keep on top of it has been like a big kind of like a like pat on the back or whatever that like I'm not as retarded as I think I am or I am, but spreadsheets help a lot.
Sure.
um so yeah, and it's like you kind of have this thing where it's like I'm doing grown up stuff now even though I've been like doing, but like once you get your finances, it's like you don't realize how much of your life revolves around it. Like
Crazy,
you
isn't it?
realize,
It's like the
yeah, I need
awareness
money.
factors.
Yeah, I need money to get groceries. I got to pay for my car, this or that. But like you don't realize like once everything's like organized, what a difference it makes.
Yeah.
So that's been a big deal.
That's phenomenal to hear. And I think a lot of it's overcoming self-doubt. Like I've worked with enough people at this point to be able to pinpoint, maybe the top three reasons people don't commit to the program in the beginning or they're skeptical. And oftentimes it's not even like, hey, is this a scam or like that type of mentality? It's more so like, can I commit? Can I make progress? Is it going to help me? Like just the things you said. And I see it all the time. So it's like one of those things I have to like coach people through and be like, guys, listen, like it's hard to take someone's word, but like I see your numbers and I know they're going to work as long as you have
Right.
the blueprint. If you don't have the numbers to get success, I'm going to tell you. And so like obviously it's for what it's worth. It's like nobody can necessarily like just trust me necessarily, but like at the same
Right.
time like I've done this enough where it's almost like it's like clockwork. Like once I see the numbers, I know now it's just I need to coach them to commit, and if they commit, they get results, and that's what they want to get. And so it's like that process is lengthy sometimes. Sometimes it's shorter than others, but like it's very common.
Yeah. And it's also that thing when you hit that wall and you're like, I don't see it. I don't see how it can I mean, it happened to us
And it
a
doesn't
bunch.
happen right away because it's not a short term thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's what I told my wife. I was like, especially like when she quit, I was like, I'm bringing in this amount, and we're literally spending the same amount, but it's not like we're overspending. It's just is what it is. Like
Yeah,
that's what's coming in is exactly what's coming out, and like we have to build sinking funds for certain things, but I don't know how to do it.
sure.
I don't know how to do it because if everything's exactly the same, we need to create additional income. And that's where we were like literally breaking our heads before we got this additional income from the houses.
Hmm.
And we're still working on some things like I am nowhere above like doing data entry, side hustle jobs, or like whatever it is.
No,
I could care less.
I
Like
agree. I did a lot of
I
side hustles. People would be like, "Oh, my ego's too big for it." I'm like, just do it. You're making money.
yeah, I don't care. Like selling something on offer up for $30, it's like I still get excited over it. And it's like, what's wrong with me? But like I'm not above it. Like I have no issues doing any of that. So we're still trying to get some of that because it's easy enough where you can do it from home. You do it for a few hours a day and you bring in some extra money, whatever it may be.
What would you tell yourself, like, let's call it 6 months ago, pre-academy, yourself now telling your older self to about the academy? Somebody you were kind of skeptical then, what would you tell yourself?
Uh just move your ass. Like you gotta do it. Like there's going to be a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of like this isn't going to work, like I just can't keep up with it or whatever, and it's pushing through that wall, that mental wall that we put where it's
Yep.
like you don't see the numbers working or trying to figure out like what goes where. For me, like the credit card thing was like I don't get it. I don't get it. Like because what I do a lot is like I'll put something on a credit card, but as soon as I charge it on the card, I send my payment right then.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like add up or whatever. And I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know how to put this on the spreadsheet. And it's so easy once you figure it out, but it's like, I think it's a lot of the apprehensiveness and however many years, like whether somebody's 20 and jumping in the academy or somebody's 50, you have like your mind's already been trained a certain way.
Yeah, 100%.
So that stays with you until you basically undo all of that muscle memory and start learning and actually like watch the videos over and over and over again.
Did you meet with Heather in the beginning?
I did. I
What was that
did. And I'm
experience
actually
like? Because
to reach back out to her.
yeah, what was that experience like? Because like you mentioned, like we're so deeply ingrained subconsciously, 95% of our brain's subconscious. So like getting unlearning a lot of the stuff's the biggest challenge, I think. What was that
Yeah.
experience?
A lot of it for me, once I met with her, was a like seeing how completely different my wife and I were. Which is weird because she's the one that grew up in the third world country,
Yep.
not me, but I have more of the third world mindset.
Interesting.
Um, she's very, uh, let's take that cruise. We'll be able to take that cruise, putting out the positive energy of it and like calling it out. And
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, babe, that's great, but we have to plan X, Y, and Z in order to get there. Like it's just not going to happen with, good thoughts and juju.
Yeah.
Um, so I've always been a lot of that. I'm working on getting better.
Yeah. It's
It's
hard.
gotten,
It's
yeah,
hard.
yeah, it's gotten a little better, but and then you don't realize how much that mindset, that negative mindset kind of affects everything and the way that you do and the way you see things. Because I do believe that there's a lot of power in positive thoughts and positive energy, and you attract what you think and what you put out into the world. But I still think it goes a lot hand in hand with having a plan and being prepared because it's not just going to fall on your lap.
Totally agree with you. What else can we help you with? Like anything else that's holding you guys up? Obviously, you got a nice little blessing here recently, but anything else?
I think I'm gonna have to have an extra set of eyes on the spreadsheets now when I kind of redo them again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm a little apprehensive, like, do I do it now? Do I do it once the house closes? Because the house is supposed to close in like 2 or 3 months. Do I do both?
I'd probably do both. I'd probably do it now. I mean, you don't want two to
Okay.
3 months to get by you and you forget like, or you don't pay attention during that time. But
Right.
then you're gonna need to make an adjustment when the house closes for sure. And like, there's gonna be a big probably sweep of different dollars going different places. But like,
Yeah.
if you need help, just let me know. Obviously, I like I told you, I got you. Is throughout this whole entire move. So just let me
Yeah.
know personally. Send me a direct message,
Okay.
and we can work through those offline or through. I can send you a Loom. It's probably not going to be as challenging as you're expecting, honestly. But like, I just want to see all the numbers updated, and then I'll be able to
Yeah.
help you, like, kind of guide you through
Okay.
that.
Yeah, because like right now we're paying 1875 for rent, and I don't know, maybe a mortgage is going to be about it'll be close to three
Yeah,
thousand.
yeah,
Just depends on what happens with the rate or whatnot.
sure.
So I'm trying to play with a couple different things. I'm praying to God that this apartment sells so that I can use those funds. And then if it doesn't sell in time, I'm also kind of trying to figure out, do I still try to sell it? Because
Hmm.
then I'm gonna get hit with taxes, or I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
Send me as it gets closer, as the dates get closer, as like all this stuff kind of develops a little more. Just send it to me. I got you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
We'll take care
Thank you.
of you.
You have you
And
have all
then
this.
and have Alex give me a call or give me or send me a message, email, whatever if he needs help with that
Yeah.
because I can definitely help him out.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool for him to like jump on a call, like one of our lessons or something like that one day, just to
I
kind of
would
put
love
out.
that. If he wants to coach through that or teach through that, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that would be really cool. So yeah, I'll give him a call. I'll talk to him, and then yeah, I'll put you guys in comms.
Yeah. Awesome, Jocelyn. Well, hey, I'm
All
glad
right.
to hear everything's going well.
Thank you
Just keep me updated and we'll continue to talk, okay?
for sure. Thanks, Brennan.
All right, later.